Hello and welcome to episode 216 of This Week at Gear Report. This is for the 29th of August, 2024. And man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. But first, before we dig into that, I want to encourage you to go check out. I was just watching a video that a friend of mine posted. Paul over at Legally Armed America has been doing some really good stuff. Go check him out if you haven't seen him before. And you know what? I should have prepared to share a link with you. I don't have that available, but if you look for Legally Armed America, I'm sure you'll track him down. And I was watching a really neat video I think he had just published today. So let's see, something isn't working. The Rumble channel. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Let me take that off so that doesn't nag us anymore. But we've got some things to talk about this week. We have not had a lot of published written content lately, but we had a bunch of it today. So why don't we dive in? And while we're waiting to see if anyone else shows up on the panel, let's look at some of these. Let me see if I can change where my picture is. There we go. So here's what we have. Make these a little bigger. We've got a number of things published. So we have TJ, Toby, and AJ, and me all published in the last week. A couple articles from TJ and AJ. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with one that I don't think I talked about last week. It was actually published before the show last week. I don't recall talking about it. So just real quick, CV Life's one of those budget optic brands that I've actually heard people beat them up before and say, you know, they're not worth getting. Let's see. AJ gave it a 3.5 out of 5, which really isn't bad. But my experience, I had my very first deer hunting rifle that I put a scope on. I actually bought it and it had a CV Life scope on it. And the thing was actually bent a little bit, but it still worked really well. And I mean, for what I was doing, it was fine. Now that I have much better glass, I can see the difference. I can understand the differences a little bit. But at the time, it was fine for what I was doing. You know, lots of light, daylight, not very far away. So that's my experience with this brand. AJ, if you want to see, let me copy this link and we'll drop it over here in the discussion. So if anyone wants to go check this article out and learn more about this specific LVPO type scope, it's 1:8 on a 24 millimeter cylinder. So it's a little bit on the small side, but for an LVPO, not really that bad. So there you can see some of the different images. He had it on an AR, which is kind of typical. I think the LVPOs are really well suited. The LPVO, low power variable optic, excuse me. So anyhow, check out the article, go give it a read. If you think you might be interested in something like that. I know I've got a couple LVPOs and one of them is really pricey. And man, when they work well, you can use it kind of like a red dot with both eyes open when it's on 1x, or you can zoom it in and get, you know, in this case, 8, in my case, up to 10 magnification, which is pretty good for what most people are doing most of the time. So lots of variability in between there as well. If you need a little wider field of view, you can zoom out some. If you want to be able to read something, maybe you zoom in a little bit more. So I'm a big fan of LPVOs. I keep saying LVPO, LPVOs. And this AJ seemed to think that this for the money might be a good one. So definitely consider checking that out if you're interested. Now we'll go a little bit different direction. Toby has done a number of gun reviews for us here at Gear Report in the past, but this time he's doing some IT type stuff, some cybersecurity type stuff. He started out with a 5-pack of Faraday bags. So these are bags that are going to disrupt the signal. If a lot of electronics that you have today can be connected to, and people can kind of pull data off of them, or even cards like your credit cards or your bank card in your wallet. The Faraday bag is, my understanding is the idea is it's going to make it harder for people to interrogate your cards or devices and steal information off of them. So Let's see, he gave this a 3.5 out of 5 gears. So again, a little better than average, but maybe not the best out there. He's got a lot of specs in here. And he also kind of talks about why you may need one, what some of the pros and cons of each of these different designs might be, and some of the other designs that are out there. So especially if you don't know what a Faraday bag is, maybe you want to go read this just to learn a little bit about what they are, because Toby does a good job in this of doing some kind of education to help you understand why you may or may not need one, when you may or may not need one to begin with. So feel free to go check that out if it looks interesting to you. Oh, and I got to change the banner before we go to the next one, because we're going to do a brief segment that I like to call Guitarmageddon. All right. So with that, we're going to start without an actual guitar in the hand and talk about, yes, that is one of the Humvees in the background, and it has an SG guitar on top of it. That is a Gibson SG guitar. That is a crazy story. Now, I put this article together to talk about a guitar that I picked up several days ago that, boy, I don't want to go into too much detail. You read the article if you want to hear the whole story, but short version, I don't think it was ever intended to be sold as a guitar. It was sent as a unfinished guitar. Like, they did all the body and neck and everything, but there were a couple little things that hadn't been done and a bunch of parts that had not been installed. And it was sent to a company that does coatings. They do paint, for example. And it was for them to test some of their different paints and coatings before sending them to the Gibson Guitar Company to spray some of their guitars with. So when that project was done, it got sold to a friend of someone who worked at the company. That person built it out, added the parts that were missing, which was pretty much everything that's not wood or the metal frets in it. Added the pickups, the bridge, the tailpiece, the electronics, the switches, the knobs, the tuners, the strings, added all that stuff, did some polishing on it and everything. The strap buttons, added all of those things, and it turned it into a playable instrument. It's still a little bit rough, so when I got it, I did some additional work to it, and I'm telling you, every little thing that I do makes it a little bit better, a little bit better. This thing just feels right to me. But one of the things that I did that the article was talking about is it had this janky little kind of hand cut piece of plastic covering up. This is the backside of all the knobs and switches and electronics. And it just had this one screw holding it on. It didn't fit right, and there was still some wires that would poke out and grab onto your clothing. It just wasn't good. So what I did is I went to the 3D printer. I downloaded a schematic or an engineering drawing of the guitar. I found the shape and dimensions of that cover that I needed. All right. And then, oops, I got to go back here. I'm clicking the wrong place. There we go. And I pulled out just the part of that cover, and then took that into a CAD drawing software and recreated it using rectangles and circles, and then made it all solid fill, and then added the little screw holes to it, and then exported that into the slicer software for a 3D printer, and was able to, short version of all that, I was able to design and successfully print a new cover to go on the back of that cavity and cover it up. So I talk about some of the other things that I may do. I've actually done some of them and have plans on some other things to finish that guitar out. But, at the end of the day, I ended up with, did I not put a picture of the new cover? Oh, I'm gonna have to go edit this, because it appears that I left off the actual finished image. I know there's one down here. So here's what it looked like when it was done. I thought there were a couple different images down here. I thought I had them up at the top so you could see them better. And it's not perfect. It doesn't look great, but solved the problem, and it fit on the first try, which is kind of amazing. If you've ever designed anything on a 3D printer, getting all the dimensions, the angles, the radius of the different curved surfaces, getting all of that right on the first try almost never happens. So I was pretty proud to have pulled that off on the first shot. So that was an interesting project. And with that, let me pull this off of the screen, and I'll show you the actual guitar as it sits today. This is something kind of neat. Now, in the guitar world, they often call this relicking, where they take the finish down to make it look like it's been worn in and played a lot. And I don't know if that was the goal here, or if there was something rough they were sanding down, but I'll tell you what, this is super smooth, and I just absolutely love the way it feels when I'm playing. I did along the edge here a bunch of filing yesterday or the day before to bring these sides down level the way they're supposed to be. And let's see, we've got a set of, I'm told they're Epiphone pickups and then Gibson hardware down here. You can see we're supposed to have 4 knobs down here, and one of them is missing. So I have a different wiring harness I think I'm going to put in here shortly. And if I do, I'm going to have to put new pickups in. So I've got to decide if I actually want to do that or not. And this cover up here was never even installed, which is just bizarre. So overall, it's a very interesting guitar. It's got the stamped serial number and made in USA up here like it should. The dimensions are all right. I've had a number of these, and it feels right. It looks right. I am confident that it is what it's supposed to be. But it's bizarre because it's they call this a silver burst paint scheme, but it was not painted at the factory. It was not finished at the factory. This is the kind of oddball thing. I don't know how many guitars Gibson sends out in a year for something like that, but it's the first one I've ever seen or heard of with that kind of story behind it. So I thought that was a pretty cool and interesting thing. So let's move on. Let's see, guitar mechanic. We could talk more about guitar stuff, but let's instead for now dive into the Palmetto State Armory Compact Dagger review by AJ. And if you're not familiar with the Compact Dagger, the Dagger line of pistols are kind of like the Glock clone pistols, based on, if I'm not mistaken, like a Gen 3 Glock setup that Palmetto State Armory has brought. Oh, look at that. Roy. Again, a salute to Roy, formerly of Brownells, that is kind of like the Sasquatch of the gun industry, and everyone is a big fan of. Clearly, Ghost is a big fan of Roy. So I'm a big Roy fan too. So you know what? I'll allow it. But Palmetto State Armory brought a less expensive version of a Glock pistol to market with a dagger, and they came out with the basic dagger and then the compact dagger, and they've really been just rolling out all sorts of updates. Anything you want to do to pimp out a Glock type pistol, it seems like they're trying to offer it. All sorts of customizations, like you see a ported slide up here, and like they've got the undercut on the lower section on that hand grip module under the trigger. They're doing a lot of things that people would buy a gun and then make customizations. They're doing a lot of these things at the factory. So the compact dagger, he gave it 3 stars. And I was going to send him a note and say, can you explain to me how you gave it 3 stars, but then you called it a superb budget-oriented feature-rich handgun? So I said, you know what? I read through all the pros and cons. I think there was a little hyperbole there. I toned it down to is a good budget-oriented feature-rich handgun, because if we look up here at the rating scale that we use here, 3 gears is what he rated this at. 3 gears means pretty much meets expectations for the product type. All right. Superb, I would think, would be like stands out as a top option. That's 4 gears. Likely the best product in its class and price point at 4.5 gears. Superb doesn't sound like pretty much meets expectations, but that's the rating he gave it. So we toned down that summary a little bit. If you want to see a little bit more about, man, everyone's rolling in now. Hey, thanks to Ghost Tactical, Gizzard Gary, and Chris from the 740 for showing up. We really appreciate you guys. So anyhow, if you want to read why he liked it, what he liked about it, what he didn't like about it, you've got the article here. I'm going to drop the link down here in the comments, and then you're welcome to hit the Gear Report site or use that link or however you want. I don't care how you get there. Just get there, right? If you want to, and you can go check out this article. And I just really. It's interesting that he gave it 3 gears, and he said it functioned flawlessly. He loved a lot of things about it, but I think what really did it in was the trigger. He really was a huge fan of the trigger, and I think that really, but I mean, you can see his 2 cons were both about the trigger. So reset failures would definitely get you docked on especially on a carry, a compact. You expect that's going to be a concealed carry type gun. So yeah, I see where he's coming from. I didn't necessarily catch all of that up front, but I get it. I think it makes sense. So we'll go quickly through this one because this is kind of one of these oddball. Toby asked me months ago, hey, do you mind if I do some more IT cybersecurity type stuff? You know, I really want to write about these things because there's some really cool stuff happening out there and people just don't know about it. I said, yeah, I mean, try to make it interesting and informative, try to educate people, because I agree there's a big opportunity. A lot of us, the IT stuff, you know, all the different systems we have to use, it's like a pain that we have to use it. We need it, but we don't necessarily understand it or understand all the risk associated with it. So that's where this graphene OS comes in for devices. If you have a specific type of device, which I believe he said it's the Google Pixel phones of, let's see, 6 or higher. No, a Pixel 4 and up, but he recommends at least a 7 or an 8, a Pixel 7 or Pixel 8. Although he did try it on a Pixel 6 and it worked. Basically, if you're not afraid of a little coding and having a whole lot of settings where you have to think about how you want to configure something and make choices, then this Graphene OS lets you wipe the operating system off of the Google Pixel device and start over with an Android open source project based operating system on the device that has all sorts of options for how you can lock it down. So if you want a more secure device where your information is less at risk, and I don't even want to know how much stuff gets tracked on my iPhone, for example. I mean, I've locked it down as well as I can in the couple minutes I've put towards it. But if you have concerns about something like that, this could be a good option for you. And even if you just want to understand what the options are, like I didn't even know this existed. So thanks to Toby for letting me know this existed. I am going to say, take a minute and go look at this. The link's in the comments. Check it out. Just because you don't know what you don't know. You may read something and realize, oh wow, maybe I should be paying more attention to this stuff. So moving on, and this is the last one because I've still got, what is this, 4 or 5 for this week, recent published articles. I think this is the last one, and there are 9 more in the queue. Plus, I have a bunch that I have to write. So lots and lots of more written content coming, as well as some other things that I'll share with you as well. Let me pull something over to that other screen real quick, and we'll come back to that in a moment. So from TJ, this one has been a bit of a long time coming because this build turned out to not be anywhere near as straightforward as we had hoped it was going to be, and that's the 8.6 Blackout build. So you may remember that a year and a half ago or more, maybe 2 years ago, the first announcements came out about 8.6 Blackout, and it got a little bit of hype early on. And then they had issues with barrels. Like only a couple companies were making the barrels, and they weren't flowing as quickly as people wanted them. The supply wasn't. And then also the ammo, like Guerrilla Ammunition Company was pretty much, they were making it, and I think one or two other companies were making it, and that was pretty much it. So the supply chain to get 8.6 off the ground was really kind of hampered, we'll say. And unfortunately for Live Free Armory, they supplied this LF308 match receiver set to go in this build, and the build just kept getting stalled. Like TJ would think he had all the parts lined up, and then stuff just wouldn't show up, and brands would eventually say, "We're so sorry, we thought we had it available, we just weren't able to send it when we thought we would." And he ended up having to buy some things that brands had said, "Yes, if you do the project, we'll supply this for you," and then they just never got it to him, so he ended up having to buy some things. So good on TJ for that. This really turned out nice. You'll notice that he got it in the white, they say. That's what you see in this picture up here. There's no finish on it. It's bare metal. And he used the duty coat. So I think that's what it was called. Yes, duty coat, Monster Tough from Duty Coat. And he actually built a spray booth. That was another thing that took a while, is he built a spray booth in his garage to be sure he could spray and get a good finish and not have dust and bugs and stuff getting on it. It took a while to get this project done. Like every step of this project had delays that were unexpected. So it's finally done, and it's out there. You can go read about it. And this is a beast of a rifle. That 8.6 blackout round is throwing a large projectile, and it doesn't have a ton of speed. It's like the big brother to 300 blackout. I mean, it's got similar like performance idea of, if you get out past 100, 150 yards, you're going to be rainbowing it a bit more. This is not a flat shooter at all, because it's got a really big projectile and is not pushing tremendous feet per second. So you can go read more about it here. I have dropped that link out there for you. And I think anyone, we're going to have a minute to talk about other things here shortly. If you have any comments, questions, thoughts, anything you want to talk about, drop your comments now, and we'll get back to them in just a minute. So let me, that wrapped up our recently published articles. You can see that I had taken a break and had not published anything since right as I was leaving to go out to New Mexico, and then had the issue and broke my foot and all the drama that went with that. So now that I'm back and I'm getting caught up on some of those things, I got a bunch of stuff to write. But again, I'll show you why I've been behind. Is I've been going where the money is, and a lot of the money has been from creating content for Amazon. And you can see on the GearReport Amazon store here, I'll drop that link in case anyone's interested in it as well. In that store, you will notice that we have lots and lots and lots and lots of new videos. I have been churning out videos and images, and horizontal videos and vertical videos, and they're just, it's like I sit around and edit videos all day, it feels like, which is good. I think that the way we do this, and I say we because I do this, a lot of my friends do this, Clover and G-Webs and Gary, who is out here. Lots of people are involved in this program, lots of people that I know who are content creators with YouTube channels and websites and whatnot. And they're also creating videos for Amazon. And there are a lot of people out there who create crap videos for Amazon, really. And it's good to see some more professional content creators putting good stuff out there. So that's nice. You can see I am experimenting with the theory that I have that the key to success in Amazon videos is the inclusion of a green arrow in the thumbnail to create intrigue and draw the eye in. So you can see I'm kind of going to town with those. And that's kind of how you can tell where the horizontal videos are. Those are generally the ones that have the green arrows, and not all of them, but most of them. and then every now and then I'll throw an arrow on an image or something, but it's generally just the horizontal videos that have the green arrows. I'm trying to up my thumbnail game on some of these as well. So that is the largest reason why things have been slow to be published on the GearReport.com website is the Gear Report store, they call it, on Amazon, the shop rather, where we've got all of these different product videos and images, has been stealing way too much of my time. So, all right, that's enough of that screen share for now. Here it is. It's true. It says it down there at the bottom. Jeff's my name. Gear is my game. All right. We already talked about recent reviews. I have been slack on my banner game here. So it is this week at Gear Report. We did recent reviews that will be published soon. Oh boy. I'm going to give you a quick teaser real quick. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me get back on that screen and we'll share this again. Steiner TOR X laser sighting system with integrated Mantis X. AJ's got that. I did not know that was available. That's interesting. And it's kind of sad also that, Gear Report writers are putting things in the queue to publish where I didn't know the product existed yet. Let's see, a Riton Contessa scope rings. Interesting. Let's see, System 76 Darter Pro 2, DARP 10. So that's another Toby kind of cybersecurity type thing that's bound to be interesting. Streamlight TLR RM2, which, speaking of Streamlight, I've got one sitting in front of me I have to remember to talk about with you guys. That I'm teasing because I've shot some videos, but I haven't published anything written yet. Let's see. Breek Arms 15-inch RG2S M-Lock handguard. That is in the queue from TJ. Also from Breek Arms, the Warhammer Mod 2 AR-15 ambi charging handle. That one is in the hopper. TJ's got the Anderson Manufacturing Frontline 16. I really need to get that one published. We've been waiting on that for a little bit, and looks like it's been ready for a week, and I haven't. It hadn't made it to the top of the queue yet. Stern Defense RAB AD review. That is that'll be interesting. I think is that what they call their folding stock adapter? We'll have to see when that one's published. From AJ, the Lead and Steel Pandora PB3 Micro Red Dot sight. I'm jealous on that one. I remember going to their booth at SHOT Show and thinking, man, I want to get my hands on that. And then when it became available, I had a weak moment and I said, AJ, you were there at that meeting and talked to them. Would you like to do this one? And he jumped on it. He also jumped on a Warbird Dead Space safety glasses and the Intrepid Bluetooth hearing protection. I think the hearing protection one's going to be a little spicy, so keep tuned for that. Also pending, Streamlight TLR7X plus USB. We're going to get to something like that real soon. And I think that's about all we have that's right up in the queue. I've got a ton of other things that are drafts that are not ready to talk about yet. But so that's kind of where we are with upcoming written content on the GearReport.com website moving forward. So that got us out of reviews that will be published soon. We already did our Guitarmageddon segment, and man, I've got a few things I could probably talk about. Did I box that back up? I was going to show you the little guitar that just came in, like a kid-size guitar, but it's so small that I can't see it. I don't remember where I put it. All right, you're going to have to trust me that happened. Nothing has happened in the world of the Gear Report Battlewagon 3 or Battlewagon 4. Both those Humvees have been neglected because I'm still wearing the boot on my broken foot while it heals, and I don't want to cause any problems with that. So as we move on to talk about some things that I have on the desk in front of me here, I'm going to show you a couple cool things. We're going to leave the repeal the NFA up here. And I'll be honest with you, it was tough. I thought about going with Boo ATF. I think for now I'm going to go with repeal the NFA. If you have other thoughts, leave me a comment. Maybe we'll change it up. But I promised you Streamlight. So we've got the TLR7. TLR7X is what's coming from AJ. This is the HLX. And this is a rail-mounted pistol light for full-size and compact handguns. But the really neat thing here, you know, all the Streamlight, the little lights, they're very similar. They work the same. You can change out the little paddles on the back, and it has a little lockout so it doesn't come on. All of that stuff's pretty standard. They change the form factor and how it mounts, what it'll mount to, but they're all very similar. This is new and different, though. The battery, instead of a disposable battery, it's a USB-C rechargeable battery. Right by my finger, I'm tapping is a little USB-C port, and you actually plug it in, and there's a little light in the top that shows red when it's charging and green when it's fully charged. I absolutely love that. Now, what I would potentially maybe love a little bit more is if there was a port where I could plug in directly to the device and have it charge, but that means you have a water intrusion hazard potentially. And on a light that you want to be able to rely on, I get why they don't want to put a port through it. They keep it all sealed up, and you have to unscrew it and plug the light in. So I get that. But so we'll have some more content on the TLR7 HLX USB coming soon. Like I said, I've shot some initial videos on it, and that's all I've done. You actually can find those out on the store page. I wonder if I can find where one is on here. Oh, and I also posted some Meprolite stuff, that videos I shot at SHOT Show, and the products hadn't been released yet, which is kind of a weird position to be in when you're sitting for months, sitting on videos waiting for the products to actually drop in the store. We've got from Meprolite the MMX3 and the MMX4, which are both flip out magnifiers to go with red dots for Meprolite stuff. And you may pair it with something like the M22, which TJ, if you've been watching, TJ has posted some videos of him with the Anderson rifle coming up out of a pool. And he's got the Meprolite M22 sitting on top of that rifle. And it is dead sexy, seriously. I love Meprolite does a lot of mixing a light tube technology to illuminate your sight point on an optic, so that you don't even have to have a battery in it. And they have so much exposed light tube area that even in just like a faint moonlight, it lights it up just enough oftentimes. So that's good stuff. And so I'll have more on that pretty soon. And let's see, Jose Juan got a pizza maker. So I've got some backyard pizza making videos up because I've been playing with that, trying to learn how to do that better. And now that Jose's got one, we'll probably do some pizza cook-off content here shortly, if that's something anyone is interested in. See, let's get that back off the screen. So something else I want to talk about here, some additional products that showed up that I've opened and haven't really had much of a chance. I took them out of the box and was like, oh, look at that, and haven't had much chance to look at them any more deeply. This is from Civivi, the knife company, Incindi, Incindi, Incindi. I feel like I'm in a spelling bee. So here we go. It's actually a pretty good sized little folder here. And you see we got the belt clip loop there. You can see the Damascus look on the blade. And then the lock release is this little button over here. So a lot of the knives I've got, especially from Civivi lately, they've got the same kind of flipper function where you extend it by just flipping your finger back on that little nub that sticks out. Many of them are liner locks where you reach in and you push the little liner thing out of the way so you can fold it. This one actually has a button on the side that you press in order to fold it. And I do like that because the liner locks put your finger kind of in the way. I do like the push button. This has got something else that's kind of unique among knives that I've had gotten from many brands lately, and that is the backside up here. It's thicker at the base and then thins out. I mean, that is a sexy blade. Look at that. Is that something or what? Yeah, I really like the look of this. And maybe I should have picked a different color for the handle. I can't decide if I like this kind of ivory G10 color or not. It's got a nice texture on it. It feels pretty good. So there will be some content on that one coming up. And then we have one here also from Civivi. They call it Nugs. And I'll tell you, I've had this out, and I really like the blade shape on this. I just think it's pretty cool looking. So all of the Civivi knives that I've gotten come in this little folding kind of case, and it's got a polishing cloth and some corporate information and product information in there, and a little felt lined carrying case. But check this out. This is a carbon fiber set of scales on the sides of this, and a neat little pocket clip there. And I do worry that maybe it'll be a little too slick in the hand if your hands are wet. But again, we've got that little flipper nub on the back where you just flick and it comes out. And look at that. That is another one of those super sexy Damascus blades. Look at all the different look on there and the different angles that it's cut at. I really like that. But then this has got that liner lock that I was talking about, where you can we get the light on it? Yeah, there it is. So you can see this little bit right here. You have to push that out of the way and then fold it. So your finger's actually in the way when you start folding the knife in. And then you've got to get your finger out of the way so you don't close the knife on your fingers. That's why I'm not a huge fan of liner locks, but I love how smooth. Man, these Civivi knives, I think they must have ball bearings in that pivot, because they are super smooth in how they extend. Oh my goodness. Now that is a spec sheet. I thought I'd real quick just look and see if I could see where the what kind of pivot it had in there. Blade material, handle, liner material, pivot assembly. Caged ceramic ball bearings. That's what I was thinking. That's interesting. And right before I said that, Gary posted in the comments, caged ceramic ball bearing. There you go. So, and that's what I would expect from Gary. Gary does more knife stuff than I do, and is demonstrably more knowledgeable about knives than I am. But I know what I like, and both of these are really nice looking, kind of sexy knives. But look at that. Jesus. That is just crazy how good looking that knife is. It's like if I were a knife, I would not look this good. But you already knew that. Look at that. That's just crazy. All right. So Gary, thank you for keeping me honest on the caged ceramic ball bearings. I appreciate that. All right. What else do we want to talk about, or have we exhausted our time? Anyone who wants to make any more comments, now is your opportunity to do that. I am looking around the room because there are products everywhere, just out of camera. There are products everywhere because I am behind on filming and reviewing and everything. And I feel like I'm out of focus. That is driving me nuts. There we go. Oh, I think I put myself back in focus a little bit. Yeah, I don't see anything that I want to pick up and put in front of the camera right this moment. I will apologize once again. I have the ProTac 2AX USB from Streamlight somewhere, and I need to show it to you guys because it's a really cool little light. And I'll tell you, it's in my day pack that I carry I carried it just weekend before last when I went out of town, and I keep forgetting to get it out of there and bring it up to the desk so I can show it. It kind of stays in my go bag, basically, is what I'm saying. But the cool thing about it, it's like the regular Pro-Tacs. I've had a couple Pro-Tacs. I've got one that I've had for years. Like the paint is worn off of it, and it still works. What's different about this is instead of being a plug-in, where, you know, like on the earlier one that I have, you actually pull the little sleeve at the end up and it reveals a little USB port and you plug it in. Well, instead of that, you take the cap off and you take the battery out, similar to what we talked about here, where you take the battery out and it's got a USB-C port on what is basically two AA batteries that are made into one long battery. Super cool. And a great size flashlight. I'm going to try to remember to bring that up to show you guys on the program next week. And I don't think I have filmed. I don't think I filmed anything for Amazon on that one yet because I keep forgetting to bring it up to the studio. Clover saying you'll never get in the good graces of Olight if you keep pimping Streamlight like that, dude. I understand that's a risk. I really do. And but I think really, if I were worried about getting in the good graces of Olight, I wouldn't tell people things like, I absolutely loved this little S1R Baton 2. A great little size to carry in the pocket, and it has that magnetic charging port on the back. But guess what? It doesn't work anymore. And I'm not aware of anything that happened to it. Like it just quit working one day. And I don't know why. So of all the Streamlight lights that I have, I was just writing a review on one a little while ago, like a couple hours ago, and said every one of them works as good as the day I took it out of the box, like literally. And I've been working with Streamlight for like 5 or 6 years. I have lots of Streamlights that I use very aggressively. Like those are my go-to if I'm going to beat it up and not be nice to it. That's yeah, yeah. Clover knows why the light quit working. It's because it's an Olight. Yeah. And I mean, that's so with Olight for me, all the Olights that I had for a couple of years, I was like, you know, I want to hate them because I hate their business practices and trying to deal with them as a content creator. They are a pain in the ass. They really are. Olight. But I had had good experiences with their flashlights, right? Until they just quit working. So I haven't had that experience with any of the other brands I work with where they just quit working. So therefore, you know, if Olight, I have actually stopped responding to Olight, to be honest with you. They still send me notes every now and then, and they're just such a pain in the ass to deal with that I think it's probably a cultural thing. They're a very Chinese company, and culturally, I'm American. I don't necessarily understand or mesh with the Chinese business culture and how they like to do business. S1R Baton 2 released in 2018. Yeah. And it was probably, I don't remember when they sent it to me. It was probably 18 or 19, maybe 20. I don't even know. I've had it for a few years and carried it a lot, but it just quit working. Yeah. Streamlights. I've got one. He's got the Stinger, and I think this was another version of I can't remember what it's called, Stinger something, that it folds over. It's like the red tubular one, and it's big and it folds over. And I had been changing the tail lights. I was swapping the tail lights in one of the Humvees over to LED taillight assemblies, and I had set the light up inside the rear fender. I found it 6 months later. I'd been driving all over. I'd driven to the Gathering in South Carolina. I'd driven to a number of car shows and events around North Carolina. I put, 1,000 or more miles on the Humvee in that time. And then I happened to be looking for something else, and my hand bumped it, and I was like, what is this doing up here? It had been bounced all over the place. It's all scratched up, but it works like a champ. I keep it in the garage. It's one of my work lights, one of my go-to work lights. Let's see. Gizzard Gary says you don't mess with Chinese business culture, yet you do business with Civivi. Well, I don't mesh with their business culture necessarily, um, but with Civivi, um, I do feel that a little bit. You know, that kind of the cultural. They are used to doing things a little differently than I'm used to doing things. But what I've done is we just keep everything very brief, and it is a business transaction. They say, would you like to review, here are the new releases, pick something you'd like to review, and I say, here are the terms I'm willing to work under, and either they accept and they send something, or they don't accept and they don't, and that's it. That's just end of discussion. I'm not having big chats with them. And I'm kind of afraid to talk to them because that happened with Olight, where I had a reasonable relationship, I thought, several years ago when we actually went to their, what did they call it? Like a press release type event that they had. They had booked a suite at the Venetian, and we walked up from the show floor to learn about their products. And what I thought was going to happen was we were going to go in and be shown products, like we would have someone who walked us through the products that interested us, gave us the details on the things that we're most interested in, and then we worked out like some sort of publication schedule for some products. What happened was we get there and it was a slide deck presentation about every single product that they make, and we were supposed to sit there for hours while they just did this classroom presentation. There was no interactivity. There was a table with some cookies, but you weren't supposed to get them until after the presentation was over. And eventually we just left. It was like, come on. Let's see. Clover says, looks like my proposals to Civivi and their companies from Gold is going to pan out, but I was very clear and concise about what I wanted to do and how it would benefit them. Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. And honestly, working with brands from other cultures, I think helps you to understand how to boil down your value proposition and present, figure out where that win-win is and present something clearly. And I think it helps them when you're talking to the American companies, where maybe we rely a little too heavily on, we're friends with the people who work there, and we've developed and cultivated a relationship. Sometimes a relationship's a great way to do business, and sometimes you really just need to be able to illustrate your value as numbers on a spreadsheet, for them, and then come to a working relationship that way. So I'm a big fan of, do it whichever way works for you, and or whatever way works for the folks that you're talking to. So, all right. I think with that, we're going to call it a night. So thanks everyone for being here. I really appreciate everyone. So it'd be Clover, Gary, Chris, anyone else if I missed anyone. We're going to put Boo ATF up there as we close this out. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge what you see at the bottom of the screen going by right now. We are, in fact, powered by Sylvan Arms, and that is they are the ones helping us bring you This Week at GearReport every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, except for the nights that we don't do it, which I think we're past that for the bulk of the remainder of the year. We should be pretty steady. Whether we're going to continue doing this show next year or not, I haven't decided. I suspect that the format of this program is going to change. If anyone has any thoughts or comments on what you would like to see this program turn into, then definitely, yeah, I agree with Clover. Defund he has a picture of a beer, a cigarette, and a ray gun, if I'm not mistaken. So you can figure out what that's supposed to mean. And Clover's looking at getting a Sylvan comp right now. Sylvan makes some pretty cool stuff. They've been a good company to us, and friendly people, nice people. See, this is the coolest thing about working in the firearms industry, is so many people that work for gun companies are just cool people. So you get to hang out with cool people while also working with cool products. And Sylvan are great people. They make some good products. And I think you'll see us doing some more with them here moving forward. Let's see. Oh, Gizzard Gary telling me alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Don't. That's what Clover was suggesting we defund. I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you, gentlemen, for proposing that. I fully support that idea. So thanks for being here for this week of Gear Report. We'll be back next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, we'll see you at the range.